Welcome to the Trainer Talk, where we discuss topics related to health and fitness to help you gain back control of your health and fitness and become the absolute best version of yourself physically and mentally. Enjoy. Right. We are live for I think it's the 150th episode.
Wow, that's a huge
Getting close to 3 years, 6 more weeks.
Yeah,
3 years.
Crazy. We should have had cake.
We can do that in 6 weeks.
You can get donuts.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Shop.
Anyways, we are going to be talking about how results take time today. Obviously, most of the people out there or that come to see us, they do want to see results fairly quickly. And it's kind of not even really their fault, because if you look on social media or if you Google things, I mean, there's so many different advertisements for different methods and supplements and surgeries and all this stuff that's like a quick fix. And basically our society has led us to believe that you can achieve these results in 30 days or 60 days or whatever, when it's just not true. You're not going to have lasting results by doing any of those strategies. If you do anything for just 30 days, it's never going to stick long term. So we want to talk about how you can kind of set yourself up for success, how results do take time. And the analogy that we kind of come up with is like, let's say the four of us were talking about a new show and you were just bringing up a show that you're going to tell us about. And, maybe it's like, hey, just, watch the first couple of episodes. It doesn't start to get good until like the fourth or fifth one. You got to get through the first few and then it gets really good. And I don't know about you guys, but for me personally, like when I first start watching a show, even if it's pretty good, you kind of start to grow attached to the characters and the actors. It takes some time. You're like, oh man, I really missed that character. If he's taken off the show or something, it's like you grow attached to the actors in the show, but it takes time, right? So everything kind of gets better the longer you do it. So when it comes to training and working out and achieving your goals, the longer you stick to it, kind of the better the results get, the more you notice it, the more you appreciate it. And then the longer you can stick with it, the more likely you are to be able to maintain it and never revert back. Mm-hmm. So that's another important thing, is like some of the clients that have been doing our classes for, a year, 2 years, 3 years plus, if we asked them today, could you imagine not doing class? Like, I can't even imagine not coming in and getting a workout in 3 days a week or 4 days a week or 5 days a week, because it's just become a part of their lifestyle and it's a habit. Mm-hmm. And they know from experience how they felt before they had started exercising and working out. So results do take time, but it also changes you as a person. And you mentioned it too before the call. You're like, I didn't even know where I would be if I didn't, start working out. Yeah. I said the same thing. So that's what we want to get into. Whoever wants to go first. Bethany, you get some stuff popped up, it looks like.
I do. But to piggyback off of what you said with the shows, like for me, it was like Game of Thrones. I started watching the first episode on my own and I was like, this is so confusing. I don't know how like who any of these people are. I'm like, I can't follow the storyline. I don't know what this place is, and I don't know what's the significance. And so the first like 2 episodes of Game of Thrones are just like, you don't know what's going on. You're like, these random people, I don't even remember their names or who they are in the storyline. But then like once you get into it and you learn and you're like, okay, like it's kind of, who this is, you understand things. Then it's like more exciting. You're just like, you're excited about what's going to happen to this character and you're more involved and invested. And that's like the first, few months of working out, you don't know what you're doing. You're like, this is weird. I don't know any of the people here. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't understand like why we're doing these exercises or exactly how I'm supposed to eat or how to get my nutrition dialed in. Like all these things that are like, it's a big picture of health and fitness. Like there's so many different aspects of it. And so it's almost daunting when it's just like, hey, like here's sleep, here's nutrition, here's fitness, here's all these lifestyle, drink more water, all these things that are kind of like thrown onto you when you do adopt a healthy lifestyle, where it's like, there's so many different things you got to focus on at once. But then once you get into the groove of it, it kind of narrows it down and you're like, okay, I've got the basics down. I've got that foundation, that underlying plot line and story and the characters that you've learned, and then you can kind of build off of that. And that's where it gets like a little bit more exciting, just like, your show does. It gets deeper. the characters start to change and develop, and you start to develop as like either a lifter or just like coming into classes, like you start developing and you start changing as a person, and who you are in the gym changes over time, and you kind of develop. Like most people come in and they're just at level 1, and then as they get more time in the gym, then they end up becoming like coaches. You know, we've talked about it before. There's members that have almost developed into that coaching role or that mentor role when, 3 years ago, they were in that same spot as those new people coming in. And so their spot in the gym or their place in the gym, their identity with the gym develops so much over time. It does take at least a few years. Yep. And, like you said, people expect in 60 days for this whole like big identity change to happen. And it's a great foundation for it, but that's like season 1 of the television show.
Right.
So like season 1 is just setting the base. It gets good. Seasons 4, 5, 6 is when it really starts to play out.
Yep.
I feel like when we do our retesting in class, like we're doing right now, that's almost like the season finale, right? Like that's what you've been working up to all season, putting in the work on every decision, every little decision that you make throughout the season has an impact on that finale. Like, you know what I mean? Whether it's your nutrition, going out to eat,
what kind of
skipping a day at the gym. Yeah, if you're coming to class enough, if you're giving it your all effort, it all leads up to that season finale. And it's kind of like something you look forward to when we do our retesting, which is, in the spring.
That's a really good analogy, because everybody's noticing a lot of improvements and they're leveling up. And then after this test, they're going to have different goals and look forward to different things for the next one.
Yeah. Every season
like the next season. Yeah. I like that.
Well, everyone always wants like that quick fix, like we were saying. And I would say like 100% of the time, like if you do a quick fix and you lose however many pounds in 30 days or whatever, like it's not sustainable. You lost that weight because you were probably starving yourself or taking something that you can't take for the rest of your life. So then what happens is your weight just comes back on, where if you would just take a little bit longer and do it the right way and work out and eat healthy, you're going to lose that weight, and it's going to be a slower process, but it's going to be sustainable, and then you're going to be able to maintain that for the rest of your life. Like, we're not here to help people just lose weight. We're here to help people completely change their lives. And it's a lot more rewarding when you work for it too. Like, I grew a baby for 9 months, so it took me a good 9 months to get back to almost where I was before I ever got pregnant. And in those 9 months, it felt frustrating. It felt hard. It felt like I'm never going to get back to where I want to be. But now, being where I am and looking back at all the hard work that I put into that, it's so rewarding. And so people who are just going and starving themselves or taking a pill or getting surgeries, like, where's the pride in that? Like, where's the reward in that? Like, there's none.
If you woke up the next day after Wyatt was born and you were back to where you were, would you really even appreciate it, or would you be able to maintain it?
Probably not.
Because you didn't build back up to where you were.
Yeah, I think if somebody was, or everybody at the beginning of their fitness or journey to becoming healthier was presented a switch, and you just had to flip that switch, and you were poof. The body fat you want to be, the body weight, you got the muscle you wanted, you look exactly how you wanted.
Would you,
if they could choose that at the beginning, I feel like 99% of people would.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But once you get to the end, you've got a new understanding, a new conception of what hard work and dedication.
Well, and that's the thing too, is they didn't learn any of the lifestyle habits, like she said. So even if you woke up with your body, eventually you're going to be right back to where you started in the beginning.
Well, I was going to say, if once you do have that new understanding, you look back and you would not flip that switch. That's what I'm trying to say. You had that new understanding and you wouldn't have made that decision. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. I know. I always look back at my pregnancy and I gained over 40 pounds in my pregnancy, and a lot of it was probably my fault, because I kind of got into that mindset of, well, I can just do whatever I want because I'm growing this human. And part of me is like, I wish I could go back and not maybe view it that way. But then the other part of me is like, no, I'm kind of glad that I went through that because I learned so much, and it made me work so much harder after I had him to like reverse that mindset and to get back to what I know is right and I know is good for my body. So yeah, I wouldn't change like anything because I mean, it was hard in the moment, but it's so rewarding when you put in that hard work and you just totally change your lifestyle.
And you grew as a person.
Yeah.
And now you'll
In
know
so
what to
many
do
more
in case you have
ways.
another one.
Right.
You'll know what you need
Yeah.
to do and what it's going to
Yeah.
require of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So knowing what you know now, if you had a
Yeah.
quick fix, you wouldn't take it.
No,
Yeah.
I would put in the work because it's
Yeah.
that
Well,
rewarding.
you can relate that to anything. Ask anybody that's ever been successful in anything
Yeah.
if they could go back and just have that success immediately
Yeah.
without having to put in the work. I bet you 99.9% of people would say, no, I am who I am because of the work
Yeah.
that I did.
It reminds
like-
me.
Well, we were just talking about when I took over the gym. And
Yeah.
you were like, you probably had no idea what you were doing. None of you would be sitting here if I
Yeah.
didn't make that decision
Mhm.
and have to go through a hard, difficult time of learning how to run a gym. I had no idea really what to do. We didn't have a whole lot of members. We didn't have a whole lot of equipment, but I just did it. And it's been a long 7 years of just
Mhm.
growth and grind and learning things and making mistakes.
Yeah.
But I told you guys before we even started this video, I wouldn't trade it for
Mhm.
anything. I would not go
Mhm.
back and change anything.
Yeah.
If I could just flip a switch and be a successful gym owner,
Yeah.
I probably would lose it all because I don't have the skills and the knowledge to actually be able to do what I do.
There's so much more that comes out of it through that
Yes.
process than just the final result.
It's about
just
the
finish
journey
line.
and the growth. Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
You're almost
it
getting more
reminds
from
me-
the process.
Yeah.
It makes me think about when we were redoing our house that we bought. It was a lot of work. It took us a year to kind of like get it the way we wanted it. And yeah, we could have hired somebody to do everything for us, and we did have some help, but we mostly did everything on our own. And I still to this day will like look at certain things in our house and think, I'm so proud that we did that. Like we painted all these walls, we put in all this flooring, we did the cabinets, we redid the bathroom. And it's just, I don't know, it makes you appreciate those things so much more, and it grew our marriage because there were definitely arguments when you're renovating a house, but it brought us closer in the end, and it just makes you appreciate it so much more when you put in that work.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's really cute, but you got to like actually make it your own. Like you
Yeah.
feel like it's really your house.
Right. And it's not the most perfect house. Like there's better houses out there, but I'm like, I
Right.
love my house because
You guys
Put
put
so
work
much
into
time
it,
into
and
it.
like
Yeah.
there's sweat, probably some tears,
Mhm.
maybe some blood, sweat, and tears all into the house, right? And it just makes you like appreciate the journey a little bit more. Just kind of like having those struggles,
Yeah.
and like kind of back to like the TV show, like your favorite character is going to go through struggles, but it also ultimately makes them better.
Yep.
And they go through the rough patches, and it's like you're going to have those hard seasons, those hard moments in your fitness journey where you're getting discouraged because you're not as far along as you want it to be, or you haven't seen the results that you want to see yet. But you have to keep that mindset of like, okay, we're not at that breaking point yet. We're not at that breakthrough moment yet where like all of a sudden like you don't just like wake up and you're there, but you almost have that realization like, hey, I'm where I wanted to be 3
Mhm.
years ago. Like when I started, like this is where I wanted to be in my fitness journey. And you have that realization, you're like, okay, like that's pretty cool, because that goalpost is always constantly moving. Like we always have changing goals and what we want to accomplish. And so it just keeps progressing, but then taking a moment to reflect on where you're at now, looking back to where you were when you started. And then you can kind of get that gratitude and that pride in the work that you put in.
100%. When I'm sitting here thinking about like the results, it's kind of interesting to me that people actually think it's something that can be done in 30 days or 60 days.
Yeah.
Like think about anything else in your whole entire life. It takes a bunch of time.
Yeah.
Like think about school. Like you go to school for 12 years, then you go to college for maybe another 4 years just to be able to learn a skill to be able to do a job that you want to do. It's not like you wake up, you're like, oh, I really want to be a doctor, but how can I do that in like 30 days?
Right.
Like
Nobody
it
would
doesn't
trust
make
that
any
doctor.
sense to me why people why fitness in general, like everything else takes time. You know, it takes time to buy a house, to start a family, to get into the career that you want to get into. Like all those things take a long time. Why is it that people think that they can just be fit, healthy, happy, all that stuff in such a short amount of time?
I honestly think it's from the marketing, the messaging that's out
Like
there.
I said earlier, the society has got us to believe that it can be done.
Yeah.
Because of all the products.
Right.
The thing is it's just so that they can make a ton of money off getting people to buy their services or their products or their surgery or whatever it is.
Right.
That's what it is.
Yeah, because like you don't see people out there like, oh, get your bachelor's degree in 1 year with this program. And they'll be like, oh, we'll click on that. Nobody will be like, well, that's not credible. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you can maybe get it in 3 years, but like, you're not going to do a bachelor's degree in 1 year, right? So, like, there's not even like a marketing out there for it. People
it's like the
know.
like the get rich quick scheme.
Exactly.
Like, make $1 million in 3 years. Like, oh, okay. What's the catch here? You know what I mean? Like, no, it's the same thing with any of these quick fixes with your diet and your body. You know?
Exactly, because you'd be like, oh, that's a scam. Like you see an ad pop up and be like, hey, you want to make $100,000 in the next 30 days? Click this link to sign up and figure out more or whatever. And for finance, people are like, well, that's kind of a scam. Like some people still click on it and they'll check it out, whatever, but they'll kind of know, oh, that's kind of scammy. Like this doesn't seem right. Like this is too good to be true, sort of thing. And yet in fitness, you know, they'll have, okay, get your dream body. You're just doing this one thing wrong. And if you fix this in the next 30 days, you'll be at your goal weight or whatever it is. And people will believe those false claims. And obviously there's maybe some people that it magically works for, but like you said, does that actually lead to long-term success? Like, are they able to keep that weight off long-term? And so that marketing is, I think, where a lot of people get the idea of like, oh, I can fix 10 years of poor eating habits and poor activity with 30 days of a quick fix.
Another thing I just thought of is, you know, like the first 2 years, typically, like the first 4 semesters of college is like prerequisites. Like you kind of got to learn the foundation of knowledge before you actually go into like your core classes. Like that should be kind of what we should dedicate to learning more about the foundational lifestyle habits, exercise, nutrition, all that stuff. Like you need to dedicate at least a year, I would say, to really make a difference and learn more about the lifestyle habits that you need to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. You can do a ton in a year or 2 years, but it's going to, you know, that's longer than 30 days, but it's still really short in the grand scheme of things, if it affects the next, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of your life. And we were talking earlier, if anybody kind of had the question, okay, how long would it take me to kind of get where I want to be? And an estimate that we kind of came up with is like, okay, how long did it take you to get to where you are now? You know, when was the last time you were happy or comfortable with your weight and where you were and how you felt? And for a lot of people that we meet with, most of the people we meet with are like 30, 40, 50-year-old busy parents. And most of them will say, oh, not since high school or not since college. So we're talking mostly 10, 15, 20 years it took them to get to the point to where they're sick of where they're at. So, for example, if it takes 10 years to get out of shape, I would estimate about a fifth, about 20, 25% of that time to get back into 100% where you were, how you felt. So if it took 10 years to get out of shape, you can expect to put in 2 years to get back into shape. If it took you 20 years to get out of shape, you can expect it to take up to 4 years to get back into that good shape that you're comfortable with and that you're happy with. If you've never been in shape your whole life, you're going to have to invest as much time as possible. You know, you've never had that feeling. So it's going to take as much time as it takes to get to where you are happy. But the cool thing about that is you're going to feel a way you've never felt before. And you're going to feel that accomplished feeling and just that sense of pride and all that. It's an incredible feeling. And I wouldn't change it for the world. You know, I would never go back and turn a switch and just be to where I am today without putting in all the work. I wouldn't deserve it, which is another thing I like to talk about is like, in order to achieve anything, you must first deserve to achieve that. You know, if you don't put in the work to be fit and healthy, you don't deserve to be fit and healthy. You have to do something to deserve that.
Yeah. I was looking back through old like videos and photos the other day, and I came across a video of when we had like this rig wasn't even a thing, and we had like the old. I think there's like a couple little rig spots over there.
2 wall-mounted squat stands.
The wall mount, and then and we had it was a group of us. It was Jared, you, Martin, me, Katie, Riley, and I think Barry was there too. Yeah. And it was just like a pan video of all of us, and like Riley and I are doing single unders and like 20-pound dumbbell thrusters. And Katie's also doing single unders and 20-pound dumbbell thrusters on this workout. And like in the video, I like drop the dumbbells because I apparently don't have the coordination to squat and thrust at that point yet. And it's just funny looking back at all of us individually and like seeing how much further we've come in 3 years, and looking back at what we were doing back then. Like we couldn't do double unders yet. And there's a lot of members in classes that are just getting their first double unders. And so it's cool to think maybe in 3 years, they could be getting their first bar muscle up, or they could be stringing double unders together for 50 reps and all this like crazy things that, like it's, you don't think that it's going to be possible for you, but then like you look back and you're like, oh wow, like you have come a long way. It's really cool.
We just had a lot of people do that actually, because we just started the level method in December and we just retested neurological and core this month, and there's at least a dozen people that got, their first couple double unders. Yeah. After never being able to do it, going from single unders to getting their first couple double unders. We've got a bunch of athletes, even like Tori and Taryn and Riley and you, and Katie, like getting your first muscle ups in the last, few months. Yeah. And now they're getting, like Tori's getting to the point where she's stringing some together and getting more than one in a row, So it's crazy to see what you're actually capable of once you put in that consistent time. And that's where, kind of going back to like the movie thing or the TV show things, like the further you get in, like the better and better it gets, and the more and more you're able to do. Do you have anything that you can relate to that? Because you just started CrossFit a year ago this month.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you've done that you're like, wow, I never thought I would be able to do that?
A lot of things actually. Like half the workouts we do.
Everything.
A lot of gymnastics, like ring muscle ups, handstand walks, keeping up with you, occasionally beating you, like things like that. Like I would have never thought I'd come even close to doing that, but I don't know. It just kind of slowly added up and compounded into where I'm at now, basically.
And that's in 1 year.
Yeah. So it happened pretty quick. I did have a good base to start with, right? So it probably did happen a little bit quicker for me than what most.
How many years were you working out prior? How many years have you been working out now? Probably like
7 or 8.
7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
So here's a fun thing though, too. Here's a really fun thing to think about is you had already been working out for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And then decided to try something new and did it for a year, and you were able to make that much more progress and accomplish things you never thought you could after training for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, I thought I was like going downhill from
You're like,
there.
I'm peaked.
Yeah.
So a lot of people listening, like, you never know like how much more progress you can make. Like, I was probably the fittest. I would say 2 years ago, all the way up to today, is probably the most skilled and fittest I've ever been. And that's for somebody that's, I'm not old yet, turning 30, but for a lot of people out there, they would think, oh, when I was 18, it's like, no, here I am turning 30, probably the fittest, most skilled athlete I've ever been.
Yeah. And you can
even
still go
more
up.
So than when I was 20. And I could still go up.
That's kind of like for me too. Like I don't necessarily look as lean as I did pre-baby, but I have done things since having a baby that I couldn't do before. Like I couldn't do ring dips before. I couldn't do double unders before. And I learned those within just, 5, 6, maybe 7 months after having a baby. Like it just shows that, I like Lauren, I had that foundation from before, but still there were things that I wasn't able to do before that I could do even after having a whole human.
Because
Kinda
like
cool.
before you came here and started doing CrossFit, how many years were you working out before that?
Oh, I don't know, like 4, 5.
Right. And like
Yeah.
the first, I saw the video
Yeah.
of your first power cleans because you're like, hey, can you teach
Oh
me how
gosh,
to do
those
like
are
power cleans and
embarrassing.
snatches? Because we conned you into doing a birthday workout with me for CrossFit.
Yeah, and then I was hooked after that.
Yeah, and then you were like, oh, okay, maybe I'll get into that a little bit more because you were just doing like your HIIT style workouts, like
Yeah.
interval style workouts. Before that, you're like, I'm not going to do CrossFit. And then I'm like, hey, can you like teach me how to do power cleans?
And they were
stuff
ugly.
Like that. They were a little rough, but it's okay. We start off with 55 pounds.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the most coordinated, but
I think we started off with 35 pounds, actually. I think it was a training bar.
It might have been, yeah.
But
You
that's
had a
just
training bar too. Remember the video we shot with the supplements?
Yes, I was
And
using a
you had
training bar.
45 pound clean and jerk, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that?
But that's the thing is people come in here and they look at us and they think, oh, I'll never be able to do that. I'll never be able to look like that. I'll never be able to lift that. But they didn't see 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 5 years ago what we were like and how much. That's a long time.
They don't see the work.
They don't.
Not always. Actually, there's a lot of members that see the work that we put in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they
So they
didn't
get it,
see
but-
the very beginning.
Right.
Well, they didn't see me at the very beginning anyways.
Yeah.
We were still learning.
Especially like newer people. Like if
Yeah.
they've only been here for even a year,
Right.
even if they've
They
been here for
only
a year.
see the now.
Yeah.
But what they don't see is all the years of hard work that we've put in to get where we are. So it hasn't happened overnight. It's been progress.
Yeah. It's like I couldn't do push-ups back even when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And like for most
me
people, that's
either.
like their peak of athleticism.
Oh no,
and-
I was so weak in high school.
Yeah. Like looking back and like I thought I was like in good
Mhm.
shape or like I had decent muscle or whatever. And I'm like, there's no bicep there. I'm like, what am I flexing?
Right.
It was like picture of me flexing and I'm like 145 or something and just like no muscle. And I'm like, I'm not flexing any muscle there. And I was like, wow, okay, I guess I have gained muscle and strength since then.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's hard to realize on yourself until you like see those pictures. So that's like another thing is just keeping track of that progress too.
Yeah.
Of like over time,
Yeah.
so you can look back and be like,
Yeah,
wow,
take
look how
the
far
pictures.
I've come.
Take the pictures. I remember, like, even after having a baby, like, I really didn't want to stand in a mirror and take pictures of myself. I was like, this is such a foreign body. Like, I don't even recognize myself. But I knew there was going to come a day when I was going to appreciate having those pictures, because sometimes you don't realize how much progress you're making until you look back and compare and see for yourself.
Right.
Here's a fun question. Aside from the pictures and maybe the scale or body fat, what do you think is the best benefit you've gained from your fitness journey? Is it physical or is it something else?
The biggest benefit?
Yeah, what's the biggest benefits that you have gained from your health and fitness journey?
Honestly, probably the pride and like confidence of like what you're able to do, like the hard work that you put in, just like the confidence that it gives you, like going out into the real world of like, if I need to pick something up, like it can be 70 pounds and I don't care, I'll pick it up because I know that I can lift it.
I think when you prove to yourself, like if there's a Metcon that I look at and I'm like, oh boy, I don't know if I can do this, and then I do it, I feel like I can go do anything. Like I can go, I don't know what, but nothing else really scares me anymore.
In other words, both of you, it translates over into your personal lives.
Yes.
Like you are more confident, not just in the gym with weights, but like with everything in your life because you've built up more confidence by building your body, basically.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, I would say probably just the discipline to show up every day and do something hard that a lot of times I don't want to do. So, and that just applies to other things, like even just around the house. Like, I got to get this done. I got to get that done. It's like, okay, I can do that. Like, I don't feel as overwhelmed. You know what I mean? Like, I feel more mentally strong and fortified. Like, yeah. So that makes a big difference.
I think all of those things. For me, definitely confidence, discipline, the work ethic, like kind of like coming in here doing stuff that's hard every single day. You're able to do other stuff easier. you're able to challenge yourself with other hard things. Like almost it's like, oh, what else can I do? What else can I accomplish? Proving to myself what I'm capable of is probably one of the biggest things too. It's like when you think about, okay, there's no way I could do that, and then you do it, it's like, okay, what else can I accomplish? And it just gives you the confidence to try other things outside, in the real world too. Like, being a business owner is not really connected to being, like an athlete, but being an athlete makes me a more confident business owner, It helps with, your relationships and all those different things. And here's a good example. I kind of get really excited for the athletes that we work with. And most parents even would probably look at and be like, oh, it's really good for them because they're becoming a better athlete for softball. They're becoming a better athlete for baseball or hockey, whatever. But what I see is kids that are developing work ethic, discipline, mental toughness, confidence, perseverance. It's going to translate over into their work life, their relationships, their school. They're going to do better at all that kind of stuff in the future. That's what I get excited about when I see Taryn and Tori and Barry, all these athletes coming in, Riley, all those guys that have dedicated time to the gym. I don't just see them getting better physically. I see them leading a better life in the future because of what they did just in high school. Yeah. So it's so much bigger than what we give it credit for. It's not just about losing 10 pounds or gaining some muscle or being able to lift 500-pound deadlift, whatever. It's like you're adopting, a whole new lifestyle and identity of this person that can go out and do more things than what they thought they were capable of. That's what I see. That's what my favorite thing is.
You're like building your own character, like building yourself into like your own superhero.
Yeah. You're the main character.
Yeah, you're the main character of your own story.
It's also made me like not afraid to fail, because I think like before I always was afraid to mess up or fail something, where I've learned in the gym like failing is good because it kind of teaches you and you learn how to, I don't know, it just, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
If you hit every lift, you wouldn't be motivated to go out there and hit another one. You have to fail that lift to be like, okay, I got to freaking put in more work now. I got to work harder to I'm not going to hit that next time.
And you think about, okay, what can I do to like improve or do it right next time? And I feel like that's kind of like translated over into me being a mom and now teaching Wyatt. Like I want him to fail because I want him to learn on his own, like not to fall off the dog bed or whatever. Like I'm gonna let him fall as long as it's safe. Like, and I feel like maybe if this was before working out, I probably would have been a little more nervous and I wouldn't want him to fail. But myself learning that failing is good, I'm not afraid to let him fail too.
100%.
So, again, that's just like it translating over into real life. So working out is way more than just working out.
100%. The mental benefit is far greater than the physical benefit.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Any final thoughts, you guys? I think that was great.
That's good.
I enjoyed that talk a lot. So hopefully this was helpful. At the end of the day, I mean, bottom line is, if you're searching for a quick fix, you need to figure out why you want it, and really start kind of digging deeper and figuring out what kind of lifestyle you want to live and why you want to do it, and try to just start focusing on the bigger picture and understand that it's going to take time. Understand that if you do a quick fix, what's the goal in a year from now? If if 94, I think it's like 94%, by the way, of people that do quick fixes revert back to their old habits and worse.
Right.
Because when they do that quick fix, they lose muscle mass. When you lose muscle mass, you put on more body weight, more body fat. So if there's a 94% chance that you're going to end up worse than what you started with, what's the point of doing it? You need to really figure out why you want to do it, which is a huge thing we talk about, is like, why do you want to achieve this goal? Why? Most of the time it's you want to feel better. It's not you want to lose 50 pounds. It's why do you want to lose the 50 pounds? Because I don't feel great. I'm not confident. I don't want to go out in public. Okay, well, that's the goal. How can we keep that for as long as possible? Losing 30 pounds in 30 days and then putting it back down or putting it back on is not going to do anything for you. So look at the big picture. Just commit to the lifestyle. You got to change your identity. You have to decide if this is the life you want to live. That is something that we could talk about in a podcast, is like the cons. Like we talk about all these things that we can do and stuff like that, but there's been a lot of sacrifices. Yeah. You know, I go to bed at 8 o'clock every night. So I don't go out. I don't stay up late. I don't watch TV super late. Don't go out with friends every weekend. Those are sacrifices I had to make to be able to live the life I want to live, but I make that choice, you know. So you do have to decide, but these are all questions that you want to ask yourself and understand. Do the math. If you've been slowly getting out of shape for 10 years, understand it's going to take at least 2 years to get back into where you're feeling really good and comfortable with where you're at. So until next time, stay healthy. Go take some action. Commit to something. Understand it's going to take at least a year. Commit to a year. I would say if you commit to 1 year of some sort of change or habit, you're going to see tremendous results. So we'll leave it at that. See you next time. Thanks again for tuning in to the Trainer Talk. If you are ready to gain back control of your health and fitness, we would love to sit down and chat with you to see if we can put together a plan for you. All you have to do is head to TaylorHutchinsonFitness.net and book a free consult. Again, make sure you like and subscribe if you like the video, and hopefully we'll see you soon.